Hi, everyone. So happy you could join us today. I am pleased to be joined by my friend Mollie Raymond, who is a volunteer and advocate for military spouses and families. She also serves on a number of boards. And so I think she is um, being very, very humble here. But for those of you who know Mollie, you know everything that she does. But for those of you who don't, Mollie, hi, how are you?
I'm doing good, Sue. Thank you so much for having me. I sure admire you and all your advocacy. So it's a privilege to spend this time with you. Thank you for having me.
No, you're so sweet. I'm excited to be able to chat with you. I mean, I know everybody is going to really enjoy this. But before we get started, not everyone knows about you, Molly, and your career background. So I wondered if you could share your military spouse journey with us.
Sure. My husband Jay was served for 35 years in the United States Air Force, and then 3 years in the new Space Force. And so he has retired 3 years ago, so we are retired now. Um, we so we've been married. We're going to celebrate our 38th wedding anniversary this month. So I was a military spouse for over 35 years. Um, we met in Grand Forks, North Dakota. That's where I was going to school. I was studying marketing and advertising, and Jay, it was his first duty assignment. So we married after I graduated, and we stayed in Grand Forks, I would say, for another year or so, and I got my master's in business administration, using that extra time to get that completed before our first PCS to Vandenberg. Now it's Space Force Base in California. And that was an extremely hard transition for me. I grew up in the same house, same neighborhood, never moved one time while I was growing up until I went to college. So that first move to California, that was a real struggle for me. Away from family, I struggled to find a job. Um, uh, it was an isolated location. And it was, Jay often says the story of taking Molly out of Minnesota was like taking the Queen out of England. Um, it was just really hard. And I finally found, I could find a job in marketing advertising. So I worked as a substitute teacher, and then finally did get hired for a marketing position. And then we moved 6 months later. So I know that's a story of so many military spouses can relate to. Moving is hard, it has challenges. But since then, we have moved 20 times,
Wow.
and it got easier. Um, and, we've had the privilege of living overseas 2 times, England and Japan. And those I consider to be huge uh, honors to experience other cultures. So, and we have 3 children, and all 3 of them had 3 high schools.
Wow.
So I think that, that's another huge challenge military families have, is just transitioning kids in and out of schools, getting them happy socially, academically, on task. And so anyway, we managed, and we all, I think, look back on our military life as one of an honor, and I don't think, looking back, change anything that we were blessed and fortunate enough to experience, especially these last 3 years with the establishment of a new service, and watching how that has evolved and grown, and be a part of, to witness, those initial years of culture, building a culture. There wasn't a new service for 47 years since the Air Force broke away. So, and it was just a real privilege of our career. A highlight is to be witness to the last 3 years of the Space Force. So,
And you aren't just witness to it. I mean, I just remember watching you as you shape the culture of the Space Force, which was so cool, and the things that you were able to do for military spouses and families, and the emphasis that you put on spouse employment. That was really inspirational. And I'm so happy to be chatting with you today specifically because I think the transition is difficult for everyone, but for senior spouses, I think it comes with an extra layer of challenges just because um, you just it seems like the higher you get, the higher your spouses get, the more isolated you are. And you end up doing so much for everybody else that you might be a little bit further removed from doing stuff for yourself and getting yourself ready for the transition. So I'm really happy to be talking to you because we have not spoken to enough senior spouses about the transition. And I guess my first question would be, with the benefit of hindsight, because you've taken us through the 35 years as a military spouse, what would you tell your younger self as you graduated and married into the military?
So my younger self, my first thing I wish I would have done more of, especially at the beginning, like that move to California, is embrace change. Take advantage of starting over when you move.
Mm.
Take advantage of the location. Every location has something to offer. Um, so don't, I think I focused on, oh, I can't find a job. I don't have any friends here. I'm so far away from my family. And I didn't focus on, hey, this is a beautiful part of our country. Get out and explore it. Make friends with local civilians that live in the community, get out and volunteer, find ways to connect with people that are local, um, and embrace change and take advantage. You're not going to be there forever. So see what opportunities there are and be grateful for what the good things that are there. So I wish I would have told myself that. So embrace change
Right.
and look for opportunity. And then I also wish I would have knew more about resources available. And I have to say, back 35 years ago, there weren't the resources available that are available today. So what I would tell a young spouse is to become familiar with what is that Military One Source. There's relocation advice and resources. There's employment support. And financial readiness, and so many opportunities at Military One Source, but also at your local military and family readiness centers. See what's available there and walk in the door and start, looking at all the opportunities that they offer to get, adapted to a new community and to help you with your challenges. And also, there's so many veteran support organizations and military support organizations like USO, Hiring Our Heroes, Blue Star Families, your organization. All of them are, there to help and support, but they all have different missions. So what are their missions? What are their specialties and how can they help you? So get to know them. And then I've alluded to this, but build connections. Get if your unit has social opportunities, get involved, get to know who is, you're working alongside, living alongside, build those connections because you're not always going to be near family. And when some tough things happen, you'll have people to call and also they'll have you to call. So build connections. I have a funny story to share that one time Jay and I had an opportunity to visit a launch control squadron at Vandenberg. And I asked a young operator, what's the favorite part of a launch? And I was expecting to hear, the countdown or the blast off or to see it in the air or to know that the mission was successful. And she was so cute. She said, the best part of every launch is we have a potluck. And it was so not what I expected to hear. I thought, what? And then, I thought more about it and she said, it's a stressful job And it's a moment that we can take to regroup, to breathe, to build community over a shared meal, and build those connections. So that was such a good lesson, that those potlucks and those times that you spend with those you work with and those you live nearby, that they matter. And it's important to get to know people and build connections. So,
100%. I think that's, having also transitioned, because we transitioned before you guys did. The friends that we made in the military are the best friends now. Like, you and I have our book club, and like friends that will travel to go to their kids' weddings and like for promotions and retirements. And I mean, those are the friends that you keep for a lifetime. So I think you're absolutely right. And also, those are the friends that actually become your network and help you find that next job. Because, when you land at an installation and they're already there, that's your ready-made network. So absolutely. So now that we talked about like what you would tell your younger self, is there anything you would have done differently?
um, well, like you had just said, just keep building those connections, because, and not just with your military community, but with your local civic community, because when you have transition, then you look for new support systems, and it could very well be those friendships that you made outside the military. And so, looking back on the career that Jay's had, that I got to join with, it's the people. It's the people that you look back, and the people that make all the memories. So build connections, keep building connections. And as far as what I wish I would have done differently, or I wish I would have done, continue to volunteer. I didn't always have that opportunity to work. Um, Employment, as I mentioned, was a struggle. And uh, every time we moved, I had to start over and look for a new job. And then eventually, we had children in a very short amount of time. We had 3 children in 4 years.
Wow.
And then Jay started moving constantly and a lot of travel. And I made the decision then to kind of throw in the employment towel. There wasn't, reportable remote positions or opportunities back then. But I would say this was totally my choice. And it was right for me. And I enjoyed every moment of, staying home with my children. I look back and think could I have tried to keep a job? So, that's, I will always look back and think, wonder if I could have, what careers would have helped, what opportunities do spouses have today that could help that? So, I guess, I wouldn't do a thing over in my choices, but I hope that today's spouses can, maintain a career as much as they move around. And I think there are opportunities with portable positions. Companies I know are more aware, I think, of the spouse employment issues, and some companies are going above and beyond and helping spouses transition and move to a new location and keep their jobs. So I'm so happy for spouses today to have more of those opportunities. But another thing I wish I would have done more is look for a mentor along the way, someone that I could have asked, well, how did you navigate this? And I think building that support system of mentors is a great thing I wish I would have done more of. And then, as a plug to military spouses today, look for mentors, but also be a mentor. There's
Right.
always someone that you can help, someone that you can befriend and give words of wisdom, share your experiences. I think that's so important, is to be a mentor and then to look for mentors. Um, um, this sounds silly and it's small, it's a small thing, but I wish I would have gotten on LinkedIn earlier. Um, I think that is a very positive medium, and you don't have to be looking for a job to be on LinkedIn, but I think it's a way to stay connected to resources and then build your network. And then you can, through that, you can build mentorship, connect with people that have, similar interests or goals. So that's a silly thing, but stay connected through LinkedIn.
I don't think that's silly at all, Molly, because I 100% agree with you. Because I think one of the challenges for military spouses as they move around is maintaining the network and the connections. And, like every time you go to apply for a job, they always ask for references. And you're like, I don't remember the people I worked with five
Yeah.
5 PCSs ago, but like if you connect with them on LinkedIn, then they update their information, and so you it's a lot easier to find them later on. And I know I don't think that's silly at all. I think that's actually really solid advice. And I think that you're probably being tougher on yourself than other people would be looking at you, because I think you did the transition so beautifully and seamlessly, because now you're in the role of being an ambassador for one of the MSOs. And I think, watching you transition, I think you like checked all the squares, and, you found the place to live, and then you found yourself a position that aligned with your goals and what you wanted to do. So I guess for other senior spouses out there, as they're making the transition, it is a new tough stage of life post-military, right? Like, what tips would you have for them?
Well, yes, thanks for asking. There's, again, look for mentors that have already gone through transition, from active duty to retired life, and see how they navigated it. So words of wisdom. We did not really know exactly where we were going to live. I knew where I wanted to live, but Jay had a different opinion. He wanted to live in Florida, retire in Florida. But a year before retirement, all three of our adult children relocated to the Northern Virginia area. So that's where I wanted to live. So, but we didn't have a home. So when Jay retired, we moved into an apartment and just started looking. And that was a hard time because I had moved 20 times. I was looking forward to, okay, this is going to be the move, the last move. And, just trying to figure that out. I have some friends that retired and went to homes that they already knew there were waiting for them. And
Right.
so I think that would have been one less stressor to have had a house ready to go. But, in the scheme of things, that's not a big thing because, you don't lock yourself into when you move after retirement, because things change and you might be moving again too, right? So, but for me, just finally finding our home was huge. So I'm very happy here. We live near our kids, and that's checked off. But I think it's so important that spouses that are going into retirement, it's going to be, it's like a PCS where things are just changing. Everything is different, but things eventually settle into place. So, like a PCS, give yourself time to settle in, and don't be don't be jumping into things. That's what I did a lot during my PCS years, and get busy right away. And then I, was like, I can't wait to move so I can, step back and start over and just say yes to the things I feel deeply about. A friend gave me great advice. When presented with a new opportunity, it should either be a heck yes, I want this. And if not, then no, thank you. So don't get too involved right away. Give yourself time to breathe, relax, take time to spend with your spouse. You've had a fast pace, and you both are going through so much change, and give yourself time. And I also think it's important to stay connected to the military community in some way. Stay involved. Be a mentor. Get involved with military support organizations, be a volunteer and give back because your experiences, your time in service are highly valued. And we don't want anyone to walk away completely. So stay connected to the military, community. Take time now to invest in your identity. Excuse me, your focus has been on the active duty member for so long that it's so important to say, think about what you want to do now. What are some of your goals and dreams and hobbies that you want to pursue now? So those, I guess, would be my top words of wisdom.
That's awesome. I don't think I could. I mean, I usually end asking somebody like a final question, but I don't think I can ask a better final question because that's a really great way to wrap up. And everything I'm hearing through what you're saying about the transition, I think the key thing for you and your spouse seems to have been communication.
Yes,
Where,
communication is highly important. Um, and, we're still a work in progress. Um, because his whole schedule has changed and my whole routine has changed, and trying to communicate almost every day. Now, what are you doing? um, but it's a joyful time too. I've had an opportunity to get involved in my local community. I'm part of our HOA. I'm in a book club, like you mentioned. I'm also in a culture club. I'm volunteering in new opportunities in different areas that I've never had an opportunity to do before. So I'm reinventing, and they're all the things that um, I'm just so excited about. I'm gardening, and in the past I wouldn't worry about gardening because, well, we were leaving this house. So, but can I just mention something to you, Sue, that I am so appreciative of is your book that your team wrote, and it's focusing on transitioning spouses, and you call us veteran spouses. And at first I thought, I never referred to myself as a veteran spouse. Um, I referred to myself as a retired spouse, but all those years we were active duty spouses. It makes sense to that terminology, veteran spouse. So I just want to say thank you. And I want to say thank you for recognizing this time of our military journey and trying to make it easier. And I think that you've opened up the conversation that there can be a few more resources for this newly transitioned veteran spouse, to just help us get our foot in the door to new opportunities after military life. And I just want to say thank you. I enjoyed reading this. I've learned a lot. And I want to say thank you for highlighting this stage of the journey. So thank you.
no, no, it's my pleasure. And it's very selfish, right? Because we find that most of our service members come from military families, and so it's a lot easier to just keep our military families close to us. And if we can open up the aperture a little bit and let people know that we still appreciate them, we still think of them as part of the family, then it all benefits our all volunteer force, right? So I mean, it's kind of selfish on our part.
Well, I think you've mentioned in the book too that, um, if we can, as active duty spouses and veteran spouses, talk about all the resources that are available and what a great life this is, we can help with retention.
Right.
We can help with people wanting to join the military. Less than 1% of our population join the military. So we want to make it, this life is grand, and we want to spread that word. And we want to thank organizations like yourself and communities that embrace us, right? That welcome us. Excuse me. Sorry. So Thank you for just keeping spouse employment and quality of life challenges on the forefront, Sue. Thank you for all that you do.
No, it's great when we have great partners and friends like you. So I I guess we should end the conversation because we've been at it for a while, but we want to thank our friends at USA for making this conversation possible. And if you have a great story to tell, I hope that you will apply for your own highlight. So you never know which military spouse you might inspire. And with that, I guess I will see you guys here next week. And Molly and I are going to continue our conversation. But bye, guys.